Eyes up. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome into practice today, presented by SiriusXM. Eric Allen and Olivia Landis coming to you live from Florham Park. And later in the show, we'll hear from team reporter Ethan Greenberg, who will give us some lowdown on more information. What to expect from today's show. A lot of everything between the Jets versus Raiders matchup. We're going to be talking about that quarterback Sam Darnold and head coach Adam Gase meeting. And we're also going to be talking about some highlights of the later half of the season. EA, the Jets officially started 2-0 in the second half of the season. They went 3-1 against the NFC East opponents. What is head coach Adam Gase most proud of as his team is turning to focus on the Raiders?
Well, first off, Liv, I'm happy to be inside today. It's not too cold out, but it's in the lower 40s. We got our own Ethan Greenberg out there. Greens will be okay. He's got a coat, but we are in the friendly confines of One Jets Drive, the auditorium here, where the team meets each morning. And Adam Gase has said that these guys do a good job of refocusing every Wednesday. And today, in National Football League terms, is the day you really switch your attention, if you're a player, to the next opponent, and that's the Oakland Raiders. Now, some of these guys probably got ahead on their film review for the Raiders Monday night and Tuesday during their off day. But the Jets are a group of guys who you see a lot of folks here on Tuesday, the players' day off, turning the page, so to speak. Jordan Jenkins said it Monday Night Live that it's a 24-hour rule whether you win or lose. And the head coach here in Adam Gase said that these guys just are finding ways to target each week in order to get better the following Sunday. And we've seen that the last 2 weeks. Seesaw affair against the Giants, and they won a close one, but a convincing wire-to-wire victory over the Washington Redskins last week on the road.
When we look at this schedule, the last 2 wins for the Jets have come against a 2-8 Giants and a 1-9 Redskins. And now as they take on the Raiders, they are a possible playoff contention team at 6-4. What makes this game so different?
Well, they definitely are a playoff contender. It's 6-4 right now. I think actually if the season ended today, the Raiders would be an AFC wild card. They are on a 3-game winning streak. What makes it different is it's a step up in class. The bottom line is the Washington Redskins are a scuffling offensive football team, and they have problems, issues on the defensive side of the ball as well, and the Jets took advantage of that this week. But this is an entirely different ball club in the Raiders, who's coming to town on a win streak. They have a lot of confidence. This is John Gruden's second year. They're in second year in the program. Derek Carr is a veteran quarterback, completed 72% of his passes. They're running the football well. They're getting after the quarterback defensively. So, bottom line, this is a measuring stick game for the Jets. Beating the Giants is one thing. Beating the Redskins is another. But actually, beating the Raiders will send a signal out there that, hey, the Jets are really continuing to take these steps forward. The 2-game winning streak is nice, but this is a step up in competition against the Raiders. There's no doubt about that.
Let's now take it down to head coach Adam Gase, who spoke to the media earlier today and talked about refocusing the team to focus on the Raiders this week.
You know, I mean, it's all going to be about what that group can handle mentally. It's about how we perform on Sundays. It's, you know, obviously we got a legit test this week. You know, I mean, this is a good offense that's coming in here. So, you know, we'll really find out where we're at right now. We'll find out where we are as not only a defense, offense, and special teams of, you know, how well can we compete with this group.
Adam Gase there talking about the Raiders. This is a team that went 4-12 last year and went through a lot of adversity, a lot of changes to say the least. Head coach John Gruden was the new coach last year. Mike Mayock was introduced as the new GM this past offseason, and they also traded 2 very valuable players in Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper. How has this team evolved, though, this year?
Well, it's the second year in the system, and you're seeing those guys benefit from that there in Oakland. They had that whole Antonio Brown saga in the summer, and a lot of teams who were not are not as mentally tough as the Raiders. Might have really took a step backward after that, but the Raiders have been playing sound football throughout the season. And like I just mentioned, 3-game winning streak. Now, let's clarify it, though. All those 3 games came at the Coliseum out on the West Coast. They are 1-3 on the road this year, and this is a West Coast team coming to the East Coast for that early start. But this is a team that is believing right now. John Gruden, that West Coast system, got the veteran quarterback. They're running the football with a rookie, and a defensively high-spirited group, play with a high motor. And the thing about the Raiders is that it becomes a possession game with them because they hold on to the football.
The Jets have used 68 players through 11 weeks of play, which is tied for the most in the NFL. And, of course, this is all due to injury. So for more of an update on the Jets' health status, let's now toss it down to the field to team reporter Ethan Greenberg.
Thanks, Liv. Quick injury update. Darryl Roberts and Chuma Edoga both will not practice today. Darryl Roberts with a calf injury that's held him out the past couple games for the Jets. And Chuma Edoga, who hurt his ankle/knee against the Redskins on Sunday, will not participate in today's practice, but is considered day-to-day. Adam Gase said that he has a good opportunity, a good chance to practice on later in the week. But for now, just wanted to give him a day of rehab. But some good news for the Jets on the other side of the offensive line. Left tackle Kelvin Beachum, who re-aggravated his ankle injury Sunday against the Redskins, will be limited today. And of course, the Jets have had 6 different starting offensive line combinations up front this season. Not a very good number, but Jets want continuity up front for their quarterback, Sam Darnold, who's coming off a career performance against the Washington Redskins. And for more on that, let's go to Olivia and Bart Scott and this week's Next Gen Stat, powered by Amazon Web Services.
Very well done by Sam Darnold. This offense has come out humming.
Sam Darnold had a career day, completing 19 of 30 passes for 293 yards and 4 touchdowns. Bart, when you look at this graphic, what stands out to you?
What stands out is he had most of his success on the left side of the field. They really found a hole in the Redskins defense.
Darnold, bunch formation, this time to the left side. Now he throws to the end zone. Touchdown, Daniel Brown.
He was able to get 3 of his 4 touchdowns on the left side, all typically on the same play.
Darnold throws, and again for a Jets touchdown.
Throws up the seam, and he had tremendous arc on the ball, a lot of touch.
What a throw. What a great throw by Sam Darnold to Jamison Crowder.
2 out of Sam Darnold's top 3 air yards throws came against the Redskins. Darnold threw for 23 air yards to tight end Daniel Brown for a touchdown, and then for 24 air yards to Jamison Crowder for a touchdown. But that's not all. Darnold's 11.2 average intended air yards ranked best among all quarterbacks in the league on Sunday.
And if Sam throws 4 touchdown passes against the Oakland Raiders, I think it's safe to say we'll be coming in here talking about another Jets victory.
You are watching Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. Eric Allen alongside Olivia Landis. I got to be honest with you, Liv, that's one of my favorite segments on NewYorkJets.com. You also can find it on the Jets app. You never know what you and Bart are going to get after. And this week you took a look at the developing 2018 number 3 overall draft pick for the New York Jets, Sam Darnold. And I will say, getting back to the Raiders, when we think about draft picks, there's Darnold, the guy who just made his 20th NFL start for the New York Jets. Look at this Raiders team so far this season, playing rookies. Clelin Ferrell up front on the defensive line. Defensive end, Max Crosby. They're starting a cornerback, Trayvon Mullen, who is a rookie. Josh Jacobs, a rookie from Alabama, the number 24 overall selection in the draft. Hunter Renfrow is becoming one of Derek Carr's favorite targets. So my point here is you got to build through the draft. Joe Douglas came on board in June. He'll start to do that in April. I'm going to be very interested to see how he attacks his first draft and these drafts beyond that. But here's a graphic on Sam Darnold. And after he went into Adam Gase's office and said, hey, let's talk about the offense a little bit. Well, this is what's happened since.
Yep, like you mentioned, quarterback Sam Darnold and as well as Adam Gase a few weeks ago, they've been talking about how after the Jaguars game, Sam went into Gase's office and they both kind of just discussed what they did like, what they didn't like about the offense. And since then, the Jets have won their past 2 out of 3 games. So why did this meeting prove to be so beneficial?
Well, he's just taking ownership in the offense, and Adam Gase was clear about it when he came on board as head coach of the Jets, that this offense can be as voluminous as you want, and we can narrow it down. So Darnold, who's 22, he just started to get more comfortable in the offense and had a better feel of the plays that work, maybe that the plays that he didn't like, and you want to have that positive back and forth between your offensive signal caller, who just happens to be the head coach here, and Adam Gase and Sam Darnold. So I think he was just showing a lot of leadership, and he's showing growth and development the way he's playing now. He goes in, talks to Gase, and now what are you seeing? You're seeing a guy who's more comfortable in the pocket and a guy who's not forcing the issue as much anymore. Step up in class this week against the Raiders, but signs pointed upward for Sam Darnold.
Speaking of development, the Jets have now gone 4 consecutive weeks where they have scored on their opening drive. And that's pretty big considering that before that first game where they scored on their opening drive, which was against the Jaguars, they hadn't scored on their opening drive since October of 2017. How do they continue this success?
Well, we'll have to see, but the bottom line is this has only happened one other time in franchise history. So if the Jets indeed take the ball first, go down and score against the Raiders, that will be the first time in franchise history that the Jets will have a streak of 5 consecutive games with touchdowns on their opening possession. What it tells me is that Adam Gase is scripting very well, but we got to clarify it too by saying sometimes he goes off script. Against the New York Giants, 3 plays in, he said, screw the script, I'm going in another direction, and the Jets still were able to go down the field and score. And what you're seeing from 14 right now is the ball distribution. He is getting everybody involved. Ryan Griffin had 100 yards, over 100 yards receiving for the first time in his career last week. Daniel Brown gets into the end zone on the opening possession.
Which was another off-script play.
Yes, that's right. Jamison Crowder, one of those drives, I believe a couple weeks ago, was a keeper that Darnold scored on. So the Jets are finding different ways to get into the end zone, and this guy's just seeing the field very well. He's being decisive in his reads, and when he has to escape the pocket, you know what he's doing that a lot of young quarterbacks don't do? He's keeping his eyes down the field. That is creating big plays for this offense. It is an exciting time because you were worried about Darnold after the 3 games missed due to mono and the couple of hiccups after he returned to the lineup following the Dallas game. But this offense is humming right now.
Yeah, not only is the offense humming, but so is the defense. 16 sacks in the last 3 games. That means before that, the Jets only had 9 sacks in the previous 7 games. So 25 sacks total, which ranks actually tied for 15th. Best overall in the league. What was different about the last 3 weeks where they were able to get those numbers up?
Oh, well, it's interesting. I think last week in Washington, if you're going to be fair, they took advantage of a rookie quarterback. When Dwayne Haskins is staring across the line, he's facing a guy in Greg Williams who's not on the field, but he's showing him different looks. The Jets are so difficult to play right now defensively if you're an offense because they are stopping the run better than anybody in football. So that means a lot of times you're going to be facing 2nd and 3rd and longs. And Williams is so creative with his pressure packages. We're looking at Jordan Jenkins, who was upset with his teammate Jamal Adams last week because they both got to Haskins, but Jamal got there first. But Jordan's got 5 sacks himself. There's Terrell Basham. You're getting contributions from different people, just like you are offensively, but they're getting these quarterbacks into – they played 2 rookie quarterbacks last 2 weeks, Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins. This week it's going to be different because Derek Carr gets the ball out of his hands quickly. The Raiders are tied for 2nd in the National Football League with just 15 15 sacks allowed. But I loved what I saw from Greg Williams last week, because we saw him blitzing Jamal Adams, who might be the most effective blitzer from a defensive back position in the National Football League, and Brian Poole at times, and you saw him dropping linebackers, and Dwayne Haskins didn't know what the heck was coming.
We talked a little bit about Jordan Jenkins. He was on Inside the Jets on Monday with you, and he actually said, you have to stop the run in order to have fun in getting to the quarterback. And that plays true. Like you said, the Jets are currently, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later on in the show, but the Jets currently rank #1 against the run. So that's pretty special.
Yeah, another thing that Jets have the luxury of having right now is that they have defensive backs who are strong blitzing. And we're watching Jamal Adams right now do a couple pass rush moves himself. But, again, Brian Poole can get up the field in a hurry, too. Greg Williams has been very clever in his disguises. The defensive line are winning a lot of their one-on-one battles right now in the trenches. The Jets have dominated in the trenches the last couple weeks, and then they've been able to bring some heat off the edge. And some guys are getting there just from pure, sheer power up the middle. Nathan Shepard's got a sack in each of the last 2 games. Different contributors right now for the Jets. But again, totally different test this week, because the experienced offensive line with the Raiders, experienced quarterback in the form of Derek Carr.
Let's dive a little bit deeper into safety Jamal Adams. 6 sacks on the season. He is leading the team in sacks so far. 3 sacks against the Redskins. How is he taking it to the next level?
He's so instinctive. He's so sudden. He's such a great athlete. He's got an unbelievable feel for the game. He is so physically talented. You see a lot of plays where he's just getting off the snap of the ball, and those guys don't have a chance. Sometimes I feel bad for opposition running backs as they're trying to get in the way of him to provide their quarterback time, and it's just a mismatch. And again, you got to credit Greg Williams for this development. And Jamal Adams has just taken his game to another level. He's a Pro Bowl player last year. You could make the argument right now, through 10 games for the Jets, there has been no better safety in the National Football League than this guy.
For more on Jamal Adams, let's now toss it down to the field to team reporter Ethan Greenberg. Ethan?
Thanks, Liv. Based on the numbers that UNEA just laid out, you might think Jamal Adams would have won back-to-back AFC Defensive Player of the Week honors. Well, he won following his performance against the Giants. We don't need to talk about that anymore. Followed that up with 3 sacks against the Redskins this past Sunday. And the awards were handed out this morning. He did not win, but the guy that did win is someone the Jets will see this Sunday. That's Raiders rookie defensive end Max Crosby, a 4th-round pick this year out of Eastern Michigan, had 4 sacks against the Bengals. But in terms of Adams, now he has 6 sacks on the year, only 2 shy of the record for a defensive back in a single season. That's 8, the guy that did that, Adrian Wilson in 2005. And in terms of this weekend, the Jets have a tough test, especially Jamal Adams, not only in the pass, but in the run. And against the pass, tight end Darren Waller, Derek Carr's favorite target, 56 receptions, 666 yards, both lead the Oakland Raiders. And then against the run, this is the matchup to watch. You have the number 9 rushing offense led by rookie Josh Jacobs, who's 4th in the league in rushing, against the NFL's number 1 rush defense. Liv, back to you.
Thanks again to team reporter Ethan Greenberg for that report on Jamal Adams out here on set when we were taking a look at Ethan delivering that report. Something up with his hair?
Everything's up with his hair. That is, Greens is going for a new style. There's no doubt about it. And we're watching the defensive line. You know, you got Andre Carter with the defensive line right now. But, yeah, Greens is sporting a new hairdo. I saw him leave the building for the practice field, and it looked like it was padded down a little bit. But he came out, and now he's got the spike look going. Looked like maybe one of the defensive linemen got after him on the field.
All love to you, Ethan. All love. Speaking of the defensive line, they've played a huge role in helping to propel the Jets to become the number 1 defense against the run. They only allow 79.1 yards per game, 2.98 yards per carry. Why is it important, and how does it affect other aspects of the game?
Well, the big question was a couple weeks ago, how were the Jets going to react to the trade of Leonard Williams, who was a very good player for this team for a few years, and he was stout against the run. Well, there has been no let-up at all. The rotation inside has just been something else, and you have to credit Andre Carter, who we're staring at right now, Steve McClendon, the veteran leader of that group. Nathan Shepard's come back from suspension, and he's pushing guys around. Lorenzo Fatukasi's become one of the top run stuffers in the National Football League. Quinnen Williams is you know, I know a lot of people are saying, well, what about the stats with Quinnen Williams? Give him some time, folks. Give him some time. He's just getting his feet wet in the National Football League. He's still an awfully talented big fella up there. Kyle Phillips, an undrafted free agent, who's been so productive for this team. So there's been a blend of coaching, and these guys have been taking their games to the next level. I would look at Fatukasi in terms of Quinnen Williams. Just look at the career trajectory. Sometimes it takes guys a little bit longer. Fatukasi in his second year, you've seen him make that unbelievable jump. Let's see what happens for Quinnen Williams in between years 1 and 2. And oh, by the way, we got 6 games remaining.
Another position on the defensive side of the ball that we have to talk about is the cornerback position. Possibly one of the thinnest positions for the Jets on the defense, with starter Trumaine Johnson going to IR, and then Darryl Roberts, he's been out with an injury. Now you look at some of the guys who have stepped up to that next man up mentality. Cornerback Bless Austin, Arthur Millette, they have really stepped up into this position and taken on a role that they weren't maybe expected to have. Well,
it's a great point, but you got to have the next man up mentality. I talked to Millette about that. He's been in a couple stops throughout his National Football League career. Hey, listen, this is pro ball. You got to be ready when your number is called. And Bless Austin, he looks the part. I know he hadn't played a game since Rutgers, the beginning of the 2008 season, but I talked to Jordan Jenkins about him Monday night, and he said, this guy's kind of feisty. He brings it. He brought it on the practice field. The fellas said when he was on scout team, he was making a name for himself. Interestingly enough, Jordan said there was a time when Bless got into it with veteran guard Brian Winters.
It's a big dude.
Yeah, big dude, nasty dude, runs a mean streak, but that just gives you some kind of sense of Bless Austin, how competitive he is. Listen, these guys are going to be challenged more this week against the Raiders because on the outside, you know, we talked about Hunter Renfrow before. Tyrell Williams is a big dude, lengthy. He's a target for Derek Carr. And then, of course, you got to think about, when you're looking at the Raiders, you got to think about that tight end, Darren Waller. We were just talking to Adam Gase about it yesterday. 6'6", former receiver. I'm going to be fascinated to see how are the Jets going to try to cover him. You put a safety on him? You put a longer corner on him? We'll see what happens.
Real quickly before we go, I know we talked about 2 players that have really stood out. Wide receiver Jamison Crowder, tight end Ryan Griffin. Crowder putting up numbers in the past 3 games. He's had 3 75-plus yard games and 3 touchdowns. Yep. And then Griffin actually leads the team with 4 touchdowns this season. Yeah, and he had
just had his first 100-yard game as a pro.
He did.
And those guys, you know, Sammy, number 14, I'm sure that those guys were part of the conversations, his comfortability with Jamison Crowder and Ryan Griffin. Those guys continue to flourish.
That's all we have for you today on Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. But be sure to watch Pregame Central, presented by Pepsi. Eric Allen will be with Anthony Beck, and I believe Chad Pennington.
Chad Pennington's coming back.
11 a.m. We'll see you guys then.